Hi, I'm Rita. Welcome back to my booktube channel, Life Worth Reading. Today I'll be doing a very first on my booktube channel, and that is my first book unhaul. I will be purging my shelves and I'll be showing you all the books that I'm trying to get rid of. Like I've mentioned a few times, I do not have a lot of physical books because I don't buy a lot of physical books. I am very intentional with the books that I do buy, and just overall I just don't spend that much money on books. But upon reflection on my shelves, most of the books that I do have are books that I am no longer interested in, or books that I haven't read and probably never will, or books that I have read, bought, and hated. I recently discovered a Portuguese website called Trade Stories because Mafalda's Reading, which is another Portuguese booktuber that I really love watching, that you should watch. She mentioned this website and I was like, oh my god, why haven't I heard of this? And so I went on there and I found so many amazing books secondhand. I bought a few and now I'm gonna be selling all my other books. The ones that I can't sell, I will be donating to local libraries and such, because all these books are pretty much in very good condition. And so I just want to quickly go through them and share this unhaul with you guys. I'm gonna start this unhaul with a book that I'm not yet sure that I want to get rid of, and that is Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Power. I read this book in November. It is part of my November wrap-up. I didn't like it. It ended up being like a 2.5, 3-star read for me, but it was just so boring, kind of a snooze fest, and I was just looking at it in my shelves and I was like, I just bought you, but also I think I'm never going to read you again, and probably it will make somebody else very happy to have this book. Like, I read it, I didn't really enjoy it, so why would I be holding on to it? And yeah, but I'm not sure. I think I do want to give it up, but this is one of the books that I'm still considering if I should or not. But I think it would make another reader very happy, and since I have read it, there's no point to holding on to it anymore. The next book that I want to mention is The Memories of Anne Frank by Theo Koster. I got this book like a few Christmases ago and I read it then at the time, and I did like it. It was a 3-star read for me. I thought it was okay, but it wasn't that great, and I don't know why I'm holding on to it still, because I know that I'm never going to read it again, and it's kind of like it's a book written and targeted for younger audiences, so it's really not for me to recommend to my friends anymore, because it's not in our like target age audience, I would say. And also it was a little bit misleading because you think that you'll be getting something more directly concerned with Anne Frank, but it's actually more about her classmates and her friends before she was taken away, which it was interesting. Also, I'm not gonna lie and say that it wasn't, because listening to other people's stories about that time and her classmates and the people that directly knew her and interacted with her was interesting, but I think the title is a little bit misleading. And I don't know, it was just an okay book. I don't know why I'm holding on to it anymore, and I think it's time for me to give it up and send it to another reader. The next book is a book that I mentioned in my anti-TBR tag, which I'll link down below, and that is The Jewel of the Seven Stars by Bram Stoker. I bought this book at a book fair a few years ago. It is still in peak condition. It was then and it was now, but I haven't read this book. I probably never will, and I don't know, I just kind of want to get rid of it. I don't want it to be occupying space on my shelves anymore, and hopefully somebody will be interested in it and will want to read it, because I am honestly not interested in it anymore. So yeah, this is another book that I'll be unhauling. For this next book, I honestly debated whether or not I would unhaul it, but I think I will, and that is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I bought this book, like the physical copy, this beautiful copy. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like this book, but I love this cover. It is so beautiful, and that's why I was debating whether or not to get rid of it, because I was like, I bought this with my money. It is so gorgeous. But then I was thinking, I'm never gonna read this book again. I didn't really like it, but there are a lot of people that are fans of this series and that probably want to read this book, so why should I be holding on to it? I don't know. It is a beautiful cover, so I will miss it on my shelves, but I think it is time for me to get rid of it, because I know in my bones that I'm not going to read it again. And you know, even though some books can be that to some people, like I have limited space on my shelves and so books are not really like decoration for me. And I think it is time for me to give this to another reader that will be way more excited about it than I am. The next book is also one that I mentioned on that anti-TBR tag, and that is Pegasus by James Lee Burke. This is like a detective crime fiction book that I also bought at a book fair. It is in very good condition, but I never read it and I probably never will. And it's just like occupying space on my shelves, and you know, that's the whole point of this unhaul, to like get rid of the books that you no longer want so other people can read them. And I think that there are a lot of people interested in detective and crime fiction, and so I think that I'll be definitely unhauling this one and hopefully making another reader very happy. Next up, I have Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I have literally nothing against this book. I haven't even read it yet, but I hate this tiny little edition. I bought the pocket edition for it like a long time ago, but it's still like very good. And I never read it because the font is so tiny. Like, it is so tiny that I can't get myself to get through this book. So I think that I'll be getting rid of this copy and hopefully buying a much better one that I can then hopefully read, because I really want to read this classic and I was just never able to because this book is so tiny. So yeah, until I can buy a better copy, I will not be reading Little Women, and I'll be getting rid of this one. Next up, I want to talk about a book that has been the bane of my literal existence for like 2 years now, maybe. And that is Never an Eye by J. Kristoff. This book gets me so angry just thinking about it. I really, really, really didn't like it. It is not my thing at all. And you know what? It's time for me to get rid of it. It was also on my shelf and I was just looking at it. I was like, why are you still here? I do not like you. I don't like you. But I know that a lot of people do, and a lot of people still want to read it. And obviously I have literally nothing against it. Just because this book wasn't for me doesn't mean it's not objectively good and like someone's favorite, for example. So I think I'll be definitely getting rid of this one and hopefully making somebody happy, because this book does not make me happy. And I hate it. So yeah, this book has got to go. And finally, honestly, this is just a random book of my bookshelf that I realized that I don't really enjoy, and that is The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I love like crime fiction, murder mysteries, anything of that type. I've already mentioned that I love Agatha Christie's work. I have a lot of her books on my shelves, but I don't know, I tried getting into this book because I never read Sherlock Holmes, and I just didn't vibe with the writing at all. Perhaps there's something wrong with me, because I know like everybody knows that Sherlock Holmes is like peak crime fiction almost, but I don't know, there was just something about it that did not vibe with me at all. And so I think it's time for me to get rid of it, because it is a classic and probably some other person will be very willing and excited to read this book, and I'm just not. So yeah, that's a book that I'll be definitely unhauling soon. This has got to go. Okay, honestly, this was just a quick little video about the books that I'll be unhauling soon, and hopefully I'll be replacing them with a book haul. I'm buying some secondhand books that will hopefully amount to enough for me to make a video on it. And yeah, this is the pile. This is the final pile of the books that I'll be unhauling, and look at all the free space that I'll have on my shelves for newer and books that I'm actually excited to read. I will be leaving my trade stories link down below, just in case for some reason any of you are Portuguese and want to take another look at these books. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Until then, always remember that life is worth reading.